ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'm never going back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Race Spot TV Friday Prime Time here on the iRacing Esports Network. We're in the Skippies once again here for week 2 of competition, and we head to Canada, the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, for some street racing action here. I'm Henry Maddock, I'm joined by Ryan Walker for this one, and well, as I said, Ryan, it's street racing time here in the Skip Barber series. Should be poised for some great action here today.
Indeed. Good evening, Connery. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, Canada, or Montreal in Canada, I should say, absolutely fantastic track. Famous for hosting the Formula 1 Grand Prix in real life, and also, a few other NASCAR races as well. But this evening here on iRacing, it'll be hosting the Skip Barber series, and I think we'll be in for some fantastic racing tonight.
Yeah, we have the stage all set, of course. We have the schedule up on screen for you now. We had a fantastic race at Lime Rock Park to start off the season. We had the circuit Gilles Villeneuve now, and once we get this over and done with, we'll be heading across the Atlantic to Brands Hatch. And then you can see all the other races up on screen. We finish off with a season finale at the Silverstone National Circuit here for this 12-week series. Currently, drivers are getting themselves towards the end of qualifying here. It's Claire Hughes, currently provisional pole position. You see the track information up on screen for you now. 32 degrees in terms of the track temperature. Mostly cloudy here, with the winds gusting just a little bit up into 18 kilometers an hour. But with a track like this, Ryan, track position is going to be very, very important, given that big old slipstream coming down the back straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, qualifying is going to be key around here, and also, as you mentioned, track position as well. I think in the early stages of this race, some people might be trying to make a move as early as possible and just try and gain some track position, get into line early, and just see how the race pans out. But these guys have to be careful as well with some of these corners, because if you take them ever so wrong, especially the final chicane and the Wall of Champions on the exit of the corner, it could bite you.
Yep, and we've seen it so many times as well, coming through that final chicane, where if you do step a foot out of line, then it's going to spit you into that famous barrier on the outside of the final turn. We see Tim Graukroger here from Australia, New Zealand, heading his way down the back straight. He's yet to set himself a qualifying time. Currently has to start right at the back of the grid unless he's able to get this one in. Of course, important not to get any off tracks here in the qualifying to risk invalidating your lap, but drive to the line for Graukroger. Is he able to set a time? That is the big question, and looks like he is just about able to do so. Gets himself inside that top 10 here to start, so solidly mid-pack here, which can be a bit sketchy for a couple of drivers.
Yeah, indeed. Being in the top 10 or in the mid-pack, it sometimes isn't the best place to be, especially around a track such as Montreal, especially with it being such a tight track and the walls being so close. And also, some people might start fighting early, which in turn might cause some mayhem in the early stages of this race.
Yeah, we see Anthony Cat up to a provisional pole position at the moment. A driver that's made his name in both the UK and Monday Night Skippies and, of course, the 2K Skip Barber World Cup as well. And you see many similar names here in this series as well. Fleur Hughes currently in P number 3, trying to improve on his qualifying position, but Cat currently provisional pole by only 17 thousandths of a second, so that's how close things are right at the top of the qualifying standings here. And we've only got about 50 seconds to go here, Ryan, so it's really a last-ditch effort for a couple of drivers out there to get their final laps in.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, some of these guys that have maybe not set a lap yet, maybe they've made a mistake in the first lap. The second lap is going to be the only chance to set a qualifying time. But if these guys that haven't set a time can't get a bank lap, and then they'll unfortunately be starting at the back as we watch Hughes coming through the final chicane to put down a lap time. Hopefully it should put him on the front row possibly.
Possibly. We'll have to see what exactly the time is, heading his way across the line. And so it looks like he will remain in P3 for now, so not improving on his previous lap time. And that is going to be the end of the session here, the end of qualifying. And this is what your starting grid looks like for week number 2 of the Skip Barber Racing School Series here on iRacing. Anthony Cat pole position with Sergey Heras in that front row. We've also got Fleur Hughes in P3, Dennis Johansson in P4, Pablo Espes in P5, Simon Edwards P6, Anthony Jones P7 with Sebastian Schultz in P8. P9 on the grid will go to Lucas de Belder with Lee Anderson squeaking himself inside the top 10 here for the start of the race. Tim Graukuger in P11 with Christian Perez in P12. We got Paul Bately in P13. Gustavo Conde, he had an absolutely fantastic start to the race at Lime Rock Park, but ended up having an incident that cycled him all the way back, and he hasn't done very well in qualifying here today. He starts in P14. George Maczynski in the P15. Christian Ortega in the P16. David Casas in P17. Daniele Fogarini in P18 here to start, and Donald Fitterer is going to be rounding out your 19 car grid here today. And with all of that set, 19 cars take themselves to the starting grid. It's a very short run here down towards turn number 1, Ryan, so not a lot of time for these guys to get single file, so we'll see a lot of jostling for position coming through that first sector.
Indeed, I think these guys, some of these guys might try and jostle for position as they head down into turn 1 and turn 2. But as we wait for the lights to go off, and away we go.
Away we go, indeed. Green flag for 13 laps of racing here today. Anthony Cat gets away well from pole position. Sergey Heras in the tow as well. But meanwhile, you do have a challenge for P3. Perhaps, though, there's a mistake, though, from the race leaders. Anthony Cat has to push a little bit wide. And now he has a challenger in Fleur Hughes on the way down and towards turn number 3 here. But Fleur Hughes just has to fall back in line. Sergey Heras, though, he's lost out a lot in terms of that opening duel, because he was in P2 and now he's been cycled back into P number 5, so he had to take avoiding action when it came to Anthony Cat pushing wide, and he is the biggest loser in terms of that one. You see battling side by side ahead, though, or at least briefly, between Espes and Johansson. But other than that small error coming in towards turn number 1 and 2 for Anthony Cat, looks like everyone else has gotten themselves away rather cleanly.
Yeah, just looking throughout the field, it looks like so far on lap 1 everyone's got through the... Oh, as the Cats get sideways.
Oh, Anthony Cat, he has to go across the grass, and that's going to be a big old slowdown penalty for him. So that's going to mean that Fleur Hughes gets himself into the race lead. Cat drops 1 more position, as well as Johansson files his way through. Espes is looking threatening down the inside as well. Edwards, that is a big error early on. Not just an error at the very start of the race, but an error coming halfway through the lap as well. And he's lost so many positions.
Yeah, I was just about to mention as well, some of these guys might not have raced the car before, but with the new tyre model as well, it takes the tyres maybe about 2 or 3 laps to get really up to temperature. So I think Cat might have just got caught out by the cold tyres on lap 1 and just unfortunately got sideways.
Oh, and he's made another error coming through the final chicane as well. So Anthony Cat, this is the worst first lap that you can imagine here. He has to take another slowdown penalty, and he's basically dead last at this point through. So from hero to zero for Anthony Cat as he gets cycled all the way back. And that was absolutely abysmal from the driver of the number 60. Quite rightfully mentioned, though, Ryan, you know, the cold tires on the first lap are very sketchy sometimes in these cars, but, you know, you can't be affording to have so many mistakes in the opening lap like that.
Yeah, it just that was an absolutely terrible lap for Anthony Cat. He's just lost tons of positions and tons of time as well. As we're on board with Dennis Johansson at the moment, currently P3 just behind Espes and Hughes at the moment. So yeah, these guys are still closely matched together at the front.
Yeah, so one challenger's fallen in that particular battle already, but still a pretty decent trade here for the race lead as they work their way through the middle sector. Hughes, though, is going to have a big task to try and break away here due to the effect of the draft, and it looks like Espes is looking to try and at least make a move. Go on.
Yeah, there's been an issue involving Anthony Cat. He's had contact with someone and got big damage.
Oh, it's happened again, has it? We'll see it up on screen for you now. As if that first lap couldn't have gone any worse for Cat. It's gone. It's just absolutely diabolical from this point. We'll see it up on screen for you now. Is there a little bit of contact? We'll just have to watch this one through, and there's no contact. He just spins it on the outside and straight into an innocent bystander there. You can see the deep damage model in effect in the skippies as well, and that is basically Cat now retired from this race.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Anthony Cat after having such a great qualifying. He's just went downhill for him, unfortunately, and that's him out of the race. Yeah, my apologies. I thought it was contact, but yeah, Anthony just lost. Yeah, Cat just lost it, I should say, and just unfortunately tagged someone on. Yeah, just went downhill for him.
Yeah, it's a big old slope downhill for him in this race, and well, he's reached the bottom of the valley now as he has to park that car on the pit lane. But everyone else still going relatively strong at this stage. Hughes still leads from Johansson here with CJ Harris in P3. And Tim Graukoger, well, he started in P11. He's up to 4th right now. That is that's basically the exact opposite of what Anthony Cat has done.
Yeah, I was just about to say as well. Yeah, I'm not sure where Tim came from. He started right at just outside the top 10, if I'm correct. And yeah, absolutely fantastic drive for him so far through the field up into P4, and yeah, not far behind the top 3 as well. So yeah, don't count Tim out of winning this race possibly.
Yeah, it'd be an absolutely fantastic drive for what was a mediocre qualifying for the driver of the number 3 car, but still a decent while in this race to go. We're on lap number 3 of 13 here. And of course, here comes the big old slipstream train coming down the back straight there. And it looks like those top two cars, the Hughes and Dennis Johansson, trying to break away at this stage. And if they can break away into their own little pair, then it might be good for them for the end of this race, so they can scrap all on their own here coming into the final couple of laps. And you can just see that Hughes didn't really fight that one coming down into the final chicane. He will look to fight back, though, coming off the corner and make this pass happen down in towards turn number 1. Meanwhile, Heras and Graukoger are also fighting in their own little battle behind. They're going to set up for the brakes then in towards turn number 1. Hughes on the inside. Johansson, though, holding it around the outside, which does become the inside line for turn number 2. And Johansson is able to keep himself ahead. So Hughes down to P2 now. And as a result of that little battle there, it's brought Heras and Graukoger really sort of back into this battle now. So they weren't able to successfully work the draft and try and break away.
Yeah, Johansson and Hughes, it looked like they got away it looked like they were pulling away, but yeah, it looked like Johansson made a mistake on the exit of the final the final chicane, and unfortunately it's allowed the pack behind to catch back up to them. So yeah, with these long straights as well and the skippy and the draft effect, I think it's going to give the pack behind a chance to keep up with them, and I think we could be, I'm not sure how many cars are in the pack, but we'll be on for a battle for the win, which may go down to the final lap.
It could do. It could do. Just had to clear my throat. I've been battling the flu for the last couple of days, so do excuse me for that one. But you can just see a leading trio then in towards the hairpin. You can see the almighty train behind though, and we see a couple of sends in the background as well, trying to get positions complete. We see Gustavo Conde involved in the battle. You see Sebastian Schultz as well, trying to work his way by. It's a whole amount of confusion here in the mid-pack as Conde and I believe that's the car of Espes going side by side here in towards the final chicane. Who's going to back out? It looks like Conde is going to be the first one off the throttle to surrender the position down in towards the final chicane, but there's been a bit of contact there. That's unfortunate. It was Espes into the back of another driver there. I'll just have to check to see exactly who that was. It looks like it was Sebastian Schultz that got punted across the chicane there, and that's just what happens when you're so close into the braking zone for that chicane.
Yeah, with the pack being so bunched up and close together, it was around Montreal as well. It's and these cars as well. It's sometimes it just causes a concertina effect, and unfortunately, someone will get tagged round. And unfortunately, Sebastian was one of those people involved and just got tagged round, but he's managed to keep going just with slight damage on his rear wing.
Yeah, and well, you're less worried about the wing damage in these big skip barbers and more about the wheel and the suspension damage. So hopefully that rear suspension is still relatively okay for Sebastian Schultz, but he does get cycled back a little bit in that situation. We're getting reports that Johansson has had a couple of problems as well. I'm just going to cycle my view back of this one because he has lost a good couple of positions. He was right at the front of this race, and actually he gets tagged from behind coming into the final chicane by Sergio Heras. So as well as having that bit of contact into the final chicane, he has to also take a slowdown penalty when it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just watching, trying to watch the replay at the moment. But yeah, it's just maybe people are just being too eager, trying to make a move, and just being. As we just look at the replay as well, and yeah, Johansson just coming down to the final chicane, and it looks like he just gets tagged from behind and gets tagged into sideways, and unfortunately just lost a couple of positions.
Yeah, so Johansson trying to work his way back through the field, gets the pass done over Lucas de Belder into that final chicane. So already starting to make up positions a little bit after that bit of contact on the previous lap. The next car on his list will be the car of Simon Edwards. So still potentially a podium finish here for Dennis Johansson despite that contact, and who knows, with the amount of errors drivers have been making so far this race, the race win's still not out of the question either. Yeah, indeed. I mean, yeah, I done a race around here last night in the official series, and I started at the back of the pack just because of a lack of practice. But if you keep out of trouble around Montreal and just be sensible, you can pick up loads of places. So yeah, if Johansson is sensible and doesn't do anything silly, he could still finish on the podium. Looking for a bit of an alternate line off the corner though, coming through the left-right sweeper, and it looks to try and bring it side by side with Simon Edwards into the next chicane, but there are a bunch of cars behind also trying to look to make their way past as well. Johansson trying to go around the outside of Edwards, but he's going to take another slowdown penalty there as he has to go across the grass and cut the corner, and now it also triggers a little fracas behind as well because De Belder is now trying to get past Edwards, and he does so side by side into the hairpin as well. Anthony Jones, a bit of contact there with another driver. That was going to be Pablo Espes as he has a bit of a problem getting through the hairpin, and it just seems like whenever a mistake happens at the front of these trains, it just causes carnage behind. Yeah, it's just it brings me back to the point as well. People are just being too eager and just driving silly. I mean, it's better to be. I know people are stuck in a slipstream and they want to try and make a move, but it's just take it easy, guys. You've still got about, I'm not sure how many laps we've got left, but we've still got a long way to go either way. Oh, Sergio Heras getting a lot of contact there as well. So front nose cone very incredibly damaged on that Skip Barber car, of course. New damage model pieces can be ripped off the car, they can litter the circuit, and you can make contact with those bits of car as well, and maybe cause a bit of damage to your own car. So Heras actually gets himself down onto the pit lane to try and get his fast repair, which you are allowed here in this series. You're allowed one fast repair, but still, it's going to do no wonders for your iRacing when you finish in the bottom half of the field still. But Simon Edwards, though, currently in P number 4. He's had a relatively calm race so far. He's picked up a couple of positions. He started in P6 and now looking to try to continue to progress forward. Lucas de Belder is the next car down the road, but he is being harassed here by Anthony Jones on the way down into the next sweeper. You can see with that rear view, there's actually a couple of cars in a train right behind him as well. So it looks like this battle for the final step of the podium is going to be where it's at for the end of the race, because Claire Hughes has checked out. Tim Graukoger has also checked out as well. It's about 2 seconds between your race leader and P number 2, and then a further 3 or 4 seconds between P2 and P3. So it looks like those top two steps on the podium looking relatively secure. It's just big question marks over P3 now.
Yeah, the top two up at the front have just managed to pull away while other people behind have been having issues. And as you say, Conroy, it looks like this will be the battle for the final step on the podium. And I think, just looking to see how many cars is in this pack. But yeah, it's quite a few. Oh, have we got 3 wide going down to the final chicane?
Yeah, a bit of 3 wide. Are they able to survive, though? Looks like they will, but what a move there from Anthony Jones. He picks up 2 positions inside a 1 chicane, and now here comes Gustavo Conde looking to try and do similar as well. He takes the challenge in towards turn number 1. There's a bit of contact, though. Driver's gone deep on the brakes, and that is Lucas de Belder has taken the brunt of the impact there. In fact, he was the car that ran into the back of Anthony Jones in that situation. Once again, drivers getting a bit too over-eager, getting too spooked in these battles, and it's just making things so much worse.
Yeah, it looks like just everyone bunched up again, and Concertina had that Concertina effect, and unfortunately one of the drivers involved was Anthony Jones, who was having a great run as well after who made that great move as well. So yeah, unfortunate for Jones, but yeah, it's all kicking off in the closing stages of this race, Conroy.
Yeah, and physically as well, kicking off, as you can see the incident that we just had up on screen. De Belder straight into the back, and well, he's definitely going to be at fault for that one. That isn't really in doubt. And of course, protests can be filed after the race with the iRacing stewards if the driver felt particularly egregious by that incident. But on lap number 8 of 13 now, down into the hairpin they go. You can still see this little bit of a train here for positions just outside your top 5, I believe. Yeah, this is the train for P5 going on right now. Top 8 are up on screen for you now. So you see the Hughes, you have Graukoger, you have Gonde, Edwards. That is your top 4. And then back down to P8 will be Espes, Anderson, Majazinski, and Fogarini. And I tell you what, who has benefited a lot from these incidents happening right at the front of the field are those drivers that started at the very back and have taken this race quite conservatively.
Yeah, I was just thinking as well, my driver of the race, if we were having a vote at the moment, my driver of the race would have to be second place man, Tim Galkroger. I apologise if I screwed your name up, sir. But driver of the race for me so far, it has to be Tim in P2. He's just he started it towards the rear of the field and just kept out of trouble, and he's been rewarded with a P2 at the moment.
Yeah, he's done very, very well indeed. We get a little bit of battling a little bit further back in your field as well, involving Christian Ortega, Paul Beatty as well. You can see this little bit of a train going on, 5-car train for P number 10 at the moment. Ortega leads that one around the circuit right now, but with only a couple of laps to go, maybe we start to see even more desperate moves, as if we haven't seen enough of them already.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just everyone was being sensible, and then halfway through the race, everyone's just decided, nope, let's go into full send mode, and it's just kicked off. But nevertheless, it's still been great racing, Conroy, and it's just it proves why I love racing this series, and also why I love commentating on the series when the chance comes around.
Oh, that was so close there. Conde just squeezing his way through side by side on Edwards, but is he going to have the momentum on the outside line through the hairpin? Looks like he's going to have a decent amount. He can bring it absolutely side by side. It's a dead heat between them coming down the back straight here. And, well, is it going to be another question of does one driver back out and live to fight another day? It looks like it is. Simon Edwards deciding to file in behind. He knows, even though there are a couple of laps left in this race, the draft is so strong at this racetrack, so he'll have ample opportunity to try and get his way by once again, and he might get it immediately afterwards, because if you can get a good run coming through that final chicane, you can sell it for the move down in towards turn number 1. Is Edwards going to go for it? No, he gets tagged from behind. It's happened again down in towards turn number 1, and now this time it was Pablo Espes straight into the back of Edwards.
Yeah, just looking at the replay on screen now, it looks like, yeah, Edwards is about to make a move into turn 1, or yeah, but unfortunately he gets tagged from behind. I think the car behind might have just got caught out possibly by Edwards moving at the last second, but yeah, really unfortunate for Simon, who was having a great run and possibly, or was in contention for a podium.
Yep, he was, and now he's having to battle with Anthony Jones for P7 and P8 out there on circuit now. So what was at least a potential podium finish for Edwards is now looking like he's going to finish in the middle of the top 10. Anthony Jones, though, looking to make sure he finishes further down the order, but not going to have an opportunity this time into the right and then into the left. As this has been a pretty weird race so far, Ryan. You know, we've seen so many drivers miss their braking markers into these heavy braking zones, and it's just caused carnage. And it's not what we're used to seeing here in the Skip Barber series. Usually things are a little bit more clean than they have been here today, but I think we're allowed to have an off week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it might just be the nature of the track as well. Canada and the long stretch as well. It always means if you're right behind someone, you can stay in the slipstream. And I think the cars being so close together, it's just kind of, yeah, it causes a concertina effect and just causes some silly incidents. But yeah, it's, yeah, as you would say, Conroy, we're all allowed an off day.
Yeah, looks like it's the case. As right now we have about P number 4 out there on circuit, as it is well, P number 3, excuse me, because it's Espes versus Conde coming into the first sector here. And Gustavo Conde, do you think he's going to give Espes a wider berth here, considering how many incidents Espes has gotten himself involved in? Because I know, some drivers like to read into their opponents a little bit. And if you know they're an aggressive driver, does that change your approach into how to pass them?
I think it does in a way. It depending on the driver. If it's somewhere you're familiar with, you've raced before, it gives you that slight edge. You can read what they're, or you can maybe try and read what they're going to do. But Espes, I think you've just got to try and give a bit of breathing space. If you try and make a move. It's kind of, do you make a move right now, or do you wait until the final lap to try and make a move on the run up to the final chicane?
That's the big thing. We're a couple of laps away from finding out who finishes in P number 3. P number 1, P number 2 looking quite secure for their respective drivers right now. Sir Hughes and Tim Graukoger. But P3, anything but right now. Pablo Espes started P number 5. It's been a rather action-packed race for him, and sometimes for the wrong reasons. Gustavo Conde, though, he's recovered quite well from a relatively poor qualifying here. Started P14, now up to 4th and looking for 3rd. Down the inside, coming up towards the chicane, and Espes will give it to him. So it looks like Conde will be in P3 at the very end of this lap, but we still got a couple more to go, and it's a good run out of that final chicane from Espes.
Yep, Espes has got the run, but I don't know if I was Espes, I would maybe wait behind him and maybe wait until the back straight and try and make a move, or maybe even just wait behind until the final lap and then try and make a move then.
Yeah, that could be the plan, as sometimes in these Skip Barber races you have to take a little bit of a more strategic mind to it, because it's basically like playing a game of chess, but you're behind the wheel of a car. But look at that, Espes, he's made a mistake coming through the first sector, and well, that's a bit of a misplay there if we're taking the gaming terms a little bit
He's
far.
got damage as well, Connery.
Oh yeah, looks like he does as well. So sometimes these curves, sometimes this terrain can really affect the suspension of these cars. And if he's picked up that damage over a curb somewhere, then I wouldn't be surprised that he has a decent amount of damage. I'll look at his run coming through turn number 1. He took the first apex quite heavily, and I have to wonder if that's damaged something on the car.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, some of these corners with like really high anti-cuts as well. You've got to be careful. If you take too much anti-cut, it can possibly damage the suspension. But you can get away with that sometimes if you raise the right height a little bit to try and take as much curb as possible without damaging the suspensions. But Espes, I think, might have just took too much curb and went right over the anti-cut, and it's maybe just clobbered the suspension.
Yeah, one big problem in that respect as well is coming through the final chicane, because those anti-cut curves are relatively large. So, you might just say that they're bigger than the Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars in and of themselves. We're seeing the battle though for P number 6, Anthony Jones trying to hold off Simon Edwards, and Edwards on a little bit of a recovery drive here after that contact for P3 in towards the first turn, and well, a P6 at the end of the day would be a good recovery. That's exactly where he started, but he needs to do it on this final lap.
Absolutely, as he's right behind Anthony Jones as well, and I think Anthony Jones won't make it easy for Edwards to get by him, because Anthony Jones, even though he's had a bad race, he's probably, from my experience of watching him, he can be really quick in the Skip Barber on his day, but it's just been one of those races where it's just unfortunately it just hasn't went right.
Yeah, it hasn't gone right at all, but at least he might just have a bit of a final flourish. You can see the yellow pen is out. You can see the little bit of rear wing damage that he is carrying, but for all intents and purposes in these Skip Barbers, the wings are kind of just for show. They do produce a little bit of downforce, but having that little bit of damage isn't going to really be affecting him too much. Where it's going to be hitting him the most is actually coming down the straights rather than through any high-speed corners. But we'll just have to see what happens here in this particular battle. They're coming out of that final sweeper and then on the way in towards that final hairpin here. Edwards not going to be close enough to make a move this time around. He's just setting himself up for the run. Through the exit of the corner, brings it close to the concrete wall on the outside, and now he has to sit in that slipstream for all it's worth and try to make the pass in towards the final chicane. But speaking of the final chicane, Claire Hughes, he picked up the pieces in turn 1 of the race, and he simply hasn't looked back. The carnage happened behind him, and he comes home to finish P1 here in week 2 of RaceSport TV Friday primetime. Looks like Anthony Jones will hold on, though, to P5 up against Simon Edwards. Simon Edwards not going to have enough draft here coming down the pit straight for the final time to be able to do anything in that particular battle, as we see a big incident there coming through the final chicane. It's Paul Beatley involved in this one, as he was involved in a battle with the car of Christian Ortega in the final couple of moments here. You can see the replay up on screen for you now, and you can just see, Casas, really, that happened all too quick in front of him. He even loses a wheel as well. But hopefully he's able to coast that one to the line, so he's classified.
Yeah, I have to say, fair play to him for keeping it going and getting over the line. Yeah, well done.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, what state your car is in when you get across the line, as long as it gets across the line. But that just sums up this race in its entirety. We'll have a look at your official race results here from week 2 of RaceSport TV Friday primetime, the Skip Barber Racing School Series. Claire Hughes, 3.4 seconds over Tim Graukruger, who's, Tim, absolutely fantastic work in this race here. P11 to P2, absolutely no problems for him. Gustavo Conde in P3. Lee Anderson comes home P4. Anthony Jones holds on to P5 over Simon Edwards. Daniele Fogherini, P18 to P7 for him, so did a fantastic job in that one. Christian Ortega, similarly so, up into P8. Pablo Espez been in the wars, recovers into P9 though. Paul Beatty with a top 10 finish. De Belder, P11 with Sebastian Schultz in P12. David Casas in P13. Donald Fitterer in P14. Sergey Heras ends up coming on P15 after a troubling first half of the race. We see George Maczynski, the first car, laps down, with Dennis Johansson having problems as well. He was a big contender right at the very start of the race. And Anthony Cato, what could have been if that first lap just went that little bit better? He comes home 12 laps down, P number 18. Christian Perez in that final spot. But with all that said and done, we're done in terms of the racing here today on Race Sport TV Friday Primetime. But don't go away, because we do have the post-race show just after this.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
After what was a big old race of attrition here for round 2 of the Skip Barber Racing School Series on iRacing, we do have a race winner. That is Thur Hughes, but everything else behind seemed to be a huge amount of confusion and a huge amount of action going on up and down the field. I'm Connie Maddock. I'm joined by Ryan Walker. Of course, it's not the race that we always like to see here, but it's sometimes the race that we get, with a lot of drivers falling by the wayside after incidents and self-spins and whatnot. But, you know, sometimes that comes with the territory when you have cars that are so close in terms of pace on a very tight and, you know, basically street circuit that circuit Gilles Villeneuve is.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, just as you said, Connery, with the pack being so close together, there's always bound to be several incidents, be it like little spins, contact, people being spun out. It's just the nature of the track, and also the cars being so close together. It causes that sort of thing. It's not intentional. It's just the way this track is. But I think today, nevertheless, the racing was still great to watch, and a great drive by Fair on the win, and also Tim on P2 but as I said earlier, if it came to driver of the day, I would have to give it to Tim.
Yeah, Gustavo Conde also a big contender in that one, as he's also got himself a podium finish after starting P14 here today. But looking at the later races of the schedule, of course, for round number 3, we head to Brands Hatch, and well, of course, the good old club circuit here on here on iRacing, and of course it's the full Brands Hatch circuit, so it's the Grand Prix circuit rather than Brands Hatch Indy, so maybe a little bit more room to work with for a lot of drivers out here.
Yeah, Brands Hatch is just, for me anyway, in the Skip Barber, one of my favourite tracks. It produces great racing in any series, but in the Skip Barber it's just such a fantastic track, and I think next week we should be in for a cracker of a race, and especially another track that's very draft dependent, so we could be in for more close racing.
And also that will be the last race of 2019 here in the on Racesport TV Friday primetime, so certainly one you do not want to miss, and perhaps it sets the stage coming into what should be an incredibly enthralling 2020 here on Racesport TV. But from us, from myself, Connery Maddock, from Ryan Walker, we also have Paul Smith pushing the buttons behind the scenes as well. That's going to be all that we have time for here on Racesport TV Friday primetime, but join us same time, same place next week for more Skip Barber action.